Hello world, it is Wednesday, May 27th. Defiance, Ohio. It's kind of warm and humid this morning. It's clouding up. I understand there's a cold front moving in, so that probably means some thunderstorms, I would guess. Um, but that's not unusual for this time of year. I did get out for some running this morning. It was quite warm for a run, but I'm not going to complain. I was able to get out. Today's devotional is entitled Time for Discernment, and it's written by Kenneth Samuel. Kenneth based his devotional upon John chapter 3, verses 31 and 34 in the New International Version. The one who is from the earth speaks as one from the earth. The one whom God has sent speaks the words of God. And Kenneth writes, the bombardment of contrasting news reports and conflicting political punditry and mass media has got me quite leery. I'm constantly flipping from one news outlet to another, and I'm reading as many pertinent and informed articles as I can stand in any given day. And like so many others, I'm paying a lot more attention to the precautions and prescriptions of healthcare professionals and social scientists. But in general, neither news reporters and pundits nor medical professionals and social scientists have the authority to determine public policy. So we look to our elected officials, those we have selected and empowered to serve the common good. We look to our elected officials for truth, compassion, and leadership. But with so many competing claims, it's often hard to tell who's fake and who's factual. I wish I could tell you that I found the definitive answer to our questions of skepticism in the above Bible passage, but I can't. What the passage does offer us is the wisdom to understand that every public official is not committed to serving the interests of all the people in the public. Every day the needs of the poor and the disenfranchised are sacrificed for the greed of the wealthy and the powerful. COVID-19 has turned the spotlight again on the drastic disparities in health and healthcare based on race in America. To arrive at truth, we must be prepared to question and investigate what our leaders tell us. Real truth never needs protection from critical evaluation. And Kenneth's prayer. Lord, may the truth set us free from ignorance and phobia. Amen. Kenneth Samuel is the pastor of Victory for the World Church in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and I had the opportunity to actually hear him preach in public at one of the General Synods of the United Church of Christ. I think it was 2005, actually in Atlanta at that time, which Stone Mountain is very close to Atlanta. And I think there's some things we need to think about. I think the COVID-19 pandemic is exposing some disparities in our nation that some of us knew have been there, but have becoming much more aware of as a result of the pandemic. Some of the statistics I think I read recently that in Michigan, something like 42% of those identified with the coronavirus are people of color. And people of color make up 14% of the population of Michigan. So there's no denying that it is impacting people of color in disproportionate quantities. There's a lot of investigation going on as to why that might be, but some of the things that have been uncovered so far are, surprise, surprise, economic level. Those in poverty tend to be more stricken because of underlying health issues that they may have, which is also related to access to health care. Those who are unemployed or underemployed often don't have access to health care because in our system here in the United States, health care is often tied to employment. And so if you have a job in which you don't have health care or are working part-time, as many companies have actually moved a lot of their employees to part-time to avoid paying for health care. that disparity begins to rear its ugly head. So I'm hoping that out of this whole pandemic, there will come a change. And we need to be active in investigating what's wrong, where we failed, where we fell short, and then work really hard to overcome the things that created those disparities. Not lose sight of them. Something has to change drastically, I think, if we are really working to creating a world in which everyone has access to the abundance that God has provided in the world. A lot to think about. So pray about it. Think about it. Think about the privilege you have in your own life. Think about the shortcomings that you have in your life and how things might change. Talk to you again tomorrow. Take care.